You're ready to begin? Okay. All right. Good afternoon and welcome to this online hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Ottawa. The Committee of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial tribunal appointed by City Council to make decisions on certain types of applications under the Planning Act. My name is John Blatherwick. I'll be chairing this hearing with me. With me today are my fellow panel members, Heather McLean, Bonnie Oakes-Charron, and Stan Wilder. Please take note that this video conference is being live streamed on YouTube. The video will be archived along with today's agenda on the city's website. Before we begin, we have a few items to outline for your information. While the issues surrounding development in the city are broad, our mandate is quite limited. The committee cannot consider aspects of the proposal that are not related to the required variances: noise, pollution, property maintenance, property values, prosecution for illegal construction, personal comments regarding neighbors, agents, or applicants, additional variances without proper public notice. If there is an identified need for an additional variance or variances, including an increase in the extent of the relief required, a recirculation of the application is required. As part of the statutory public notification requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property and file a statutory declaration confirming the sign posting. And I note from the speakers list that we don't have those, so we're going to have to administer the oath or solemn declaration to all applicants and or agents before we can hear their application. Regarding quorum, if this is lost during the hearing due to technical difficulties, the proceedings will be paused to allow time for the resolution of the issue. Failing the ability to reinstate quorum, hearing of these items will resume at the outset of the next regularly scheduled meeting of the committee. In terms of the hearing process, listed on the agenda and appearing on the screen are the applications we will hear today. For the sake of efficiency, the committee may deal with the agenda items in a different order. Note that the committee members have reviewed the application materials prior to this hearing and any written submissions received in support or in opposition. In addition, the committee will hear today oral submissions from any interested parties as part of our proceedings. The committee may ask for a brief presentation by the applicant, followed by questions from the members where clarification may be needed. The public submissions portion of the hearing will then begin, and any interested parties will be invited to make their submissions to the committee. Panel members may then ask follow-up questions where additional or added clarification may be required. When you are called upon to provide your comments, we will ask you to do the following. Start with stating your name and municipal address for the record. We may ask you to spell your name. Then begin your submission by addressing your comments to the panel members. You may ask questions, but please direct them only to the chair. Please limit your comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Any exceptions will be at the committee's discretion. Once all interested parties have had an opportunity to address the panel, the public submissions portion of the hearing will then be closed. The committee will then make an oral decision to either grant or deny the application. The committee may also choose to reserve its decision. In such case, the panel will deliberate further on the evidence presented immediately following adjournment of the public hearing. In either case, the committee will send within 10 days of its decision and to all parties and to those who have requested it, a written notice of decision that sets out the reasons for the decision. All decisions of the committee are subject to a 20-day appeal period, during which the decision can be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal for a fee. Before we begin, are there any declarations of interest for any of us for this panel, panel 2 or panel 3 today? None. All right. We have no minutes to confirm, and there are several adjournment requests before we begin the main part of the agenda. The first adjournment request is item number 5, 436 George Street West. I believe the agent for the applicant is Mr. Robinson.
Afternoon.
Mr. Robinson, for the record, your address, please.
100 Palomino Drive, Ottawa, K2M 1N3.
The committee notes that there are adjournment requests from several neighbors
That is correct.
adjacent to this property and yourself as well.
That is correct.
And we also note that the NCC has some serious comments regarding issues which I guess, have also led you to request an adjournment.
That is correct.
Okay. The other adjournment requesters are, I guess it's Mr. Ms. DePienta. She there?
Yes.
All right.
We are at 434 George Street West.
Okay. And you're aware that the agent for the applicant is in concurrence with an adjournment?
So this is Paul Robinson.
That's
That is
correct.
And I'm sorry, in the process of rejoining, we lost our connection. I'm sorry, I missed
Oh,
that.
we're just dealing with the adjournment request. Mr. Robinson is agreeing to an adjournment. We understand that you've also asked for an adjournment.
Yes,
So it seems like everybody's on the same page on this.
Fantastic.
And the NCC has some serious concerns regarding this application. So
Okay.
I think it'd probably be best, Mr. Robinson, given what we have in our materials, that we adjourn this application sine die.
Yes, that's what I indicated in my submission to the committee.
Okay. And I take it you're going to be in consultation with the adjoining or the abutting neighbors on this?
That is correct. We did receive correspondence yesterday from their legal counsel to discuss the access. So
Okay.
our client is also getting their lawyers involved.
Okay. All right. So all in favor of adjourning this application, sine die? All right, the application is adjourned. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next application, it's up for adjournment. The request for adjournment has come from the planning department, are items 7 and 8 on the agenda. 1089 Gladstone Avenue. And the agent for this application, I believe, is one of the owners, Mr. Bedar. Mr. Hamilton, would you please articulate the department's request for an adjournment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff are requesting an adjournment for additional time to discuss with the applicant the location of the front lot line. The reason being, depending on where it actually is and with respect to the addition, there may be additional variances required.
All right, and do we have Mr. Bedard online?
Yeah, so I'm the property owner of 1091 Gladstone, the agent of 1089 Gladstone, and
Okay.
agreeing to adjourn.
You're aware of the department's request for adjournment? And you're in concurrence?
We concur with that, yes.
Okay. The department or the committee is wondering whether it would be best to adjourn this sine die, Mr. Hamilton, given what maybe need to be filed as far as extra variances.
I would agree.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
All in favor of adjourning this application, sine die? All right. The application is adjourned, sine die. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And that concludes the official adjournment request. However, the committee would like to call forth the agent for item 340 Kenora Street. And I believe that's Mr. Kelly from Novatech. Will be there?
Hello, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Arrested.
Mr. Kelly, for the record, your address, please.
It's 240 Michael Copeland Drive and Suite 200.
All right. Mr. Kelly, we've reviewed the application at our pre-meets, and we note that there was a request from the committee secretariat to provide, as I'm quoting here, a site plan with dimensions indicating semi-detached dwellings to the property lot lines in a site plan or a survey, or dimensions added onto an existing plan or survey, and you've respectfully declined to provide that information.
That is
I'm
correct.
happy to speak to that, Mr. Chairman. That would be
Before you
correct.
speak, before you speak, Mr. Chown, I'm looking at the submission requirements for a consent application. Mandatory submission requirements, a draft reference plan prepared by an Ontario land surveyor showing all structures located on the property, and for an application within the urban area, all trees protected under the city's tree protection bylaw. We do not have that in our package. Why?
No, I believe we have submitted a TIR. Mr. Kelly can correct me on that.
Okay,
I think the committee is fully aware of the decisions of the Ontario Municipal Board with respect to consent applications where we're creating, in particular, fully conforming lots, that there's no need to provide any additional information in support of those applications, and we would respectfully request that the committee deal with the application.
well, Mr. Chown, you file applications at this committee all the time for consent applications. You're very aware of the mandatory requirements. And that is still a mandatory requirement as far as I know, and we haven't changed that requirement. So quite frankly, do you folks have a version of an R plan with a building footprint on it that can be forwarded to us before the end of the hearing today?
I don't know if we have such a plan.
Why don't we stand this down until the end of the hearing and see if you can find something and save yourself a 2-week adjournment.
Thank you for that. Mr. Kelly and I will discuss, and we'll get back to the committee secretary.
And we'll call us back later on in the hearing. Thanks, Mr. Chum. Mr.
Thank
Kelly.
you.
Thank you. That concludes the adjournment part of the agenda. We will now move on to the regular agenda. The first item before us is item number 1 on the agenda, 440 bracket 438 on bracket Highcroft Avenue. It's a consent to subdivide the property into 2 separate parcels of land to create separate ownerships for a 2-story semi-detached dwelling currently under construction. And I believe Ms. Daou is the agent.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so this is a simple consent application, Ms. Daou. I note that Building Code Services say there are some outstanding orders to comply on this site. Just out of curiosity, what's the status of that?
So I had some thorough discussions with the property owner just to get an update on the status, and those issues dated, I believe it was April 27th, 2021.
Okay.
They have been resolved, and I do have the confirmations from Building Code Services that the excavation permit had passed, and then the framing has begun since then, and that was as of November of 2021.
Okay, and the second question we have for you is secondary development units. Are they going to be incorporated into each half of this semi-detached dwelling?
Yes. So after the initial submission of this application, building permits were submitted by the owner and their architect to apply for secondary dwelling units, 1 in each of the semis, and those have been approved by the Building Code Services as well.
Okay. So this building is currently under construction, nearing completion?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, did we take the oath?
Oh, yes.
Oh, nope.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my, here we go again. I'm going to have somebody hitting me in the head, reminding me to do this. Oh, ignore what we said already, and we'll start all over. Well, not quite start all over again. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I affirm.
All right. All right. Any questions regarding this application from the members of the panel? Ms. Sharon, please.
Thank you. I noticed in the application that it says that the development is appropriate and desirable and in keeping with the built form of the immediate area. But we did have comments submitted by a neighbor indicating that this development is more than double the size of the other buildings in the immediate area. So I was wondering if you could respond to that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't believe I had seen that comment in particular. That said, in terms of the character of the street, I do have some presentation materials if you wish to see those, but I do have a map that shows the types of built form. Oh, thank you very much. So I believe it's this third slide on this. This one right here, perfect. So this is just some very quick sort of streetscape analysis. These are photographs that I had taken just in January of this year of examples of semi-detached dwellings in the area that are newer development, newer construction, consistent with the proposed development that's under construction, which you can see in the top image of the closest to the header bar there. And then the Geo-Ottawa mapping you'll see as well, where these are all examples of semi-detached dwellings that have been severed, and that's just within this immediate block. And then I've also captured some along Churchill as well. So in terms of the built form of this property, it is in keeping with what I had seen throughout the neighborhood and in my investigations. Adding to that as well, this is an area that is undergoing intensification and gradual change. Just to the north of the property along Byron Place and Churchill, at the corner of Byron Place and Churchill, there's going to be a redevelopment that's currently being reviewed by city staff, site plan control application for a 75-unit apartment building, mixed use building. So I think, given the sort of changing character and changing neighborhood character, this is an appropriate built form. It's also fully compliant with zoning standards as well. So we think it's appropriate for this context.
We understand this building has legally non-complying status.
Just in terms of one interior side yard setback requirement, and that would be the requirement now through the Westboro overlay development requirement of 1.5 meters for an interior side yard setback, and the provided is just over 1.2 on either side. And that is because the Westboro overlay, of course, was adopted after the building permit was approved for this application and the development had started construction.
Okay. Any more questions, Ms. Oakeshott?
Yes, just wondering through you, Mr. Chair, if there is a photo of the actual site that we could see. The streetscape.
So if the coordinators could bring up my presentation again through you, Mr. Chair, I do have one image. It was a little bit challenging. Again, it's under construction, so getting a photograph of the entire site without the construction vehicles in front was a bit challenging. But you can see here that this is the semi-detached that's currently under construction. Adjacent to that, the garage that's shown in this image is the property that is undergoing the site plan application for the six-story apartment building as well.
Okay.
There were also in the enclosed planning rationale justification letter that was enclosed within submission, there were multiple other photographs of the existing site conditions as well.
Yeah, we note that. Thank you. It's a very comprehensive submission, Ms. Doe. Any other questions from the panel? Comments? I take it you're aware of the conditions. Cash in lieu, a tree planting plan, independent services confirmed joint use and maintenance agreement, a noise attenuation study or noise level agreement because of the proximity to Byron and Churchill, and a Hydro Auto requires a common elements agreement as well.
Yes, we are aware of those.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just before I forget, I just wanted to notice provide some information regarding correction to the notice. I did advise Committee of Adjustment staff, but I just wanted to make sure for the record it was on, the panel was aware. The lot frontage for both of the parcels is actually 7.62 meters. It's the lot width for part one that is slightly less, which is 7.61 meters. So just for the committee's record of that as well.
So for part one, it should be 7.62 as the width or the frontage?
The frontage, exactly. And then the width is just slightly less, which is the 7.61.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. O. Any further questions regarding this application? All in favor of the application as submitted? Your application is granted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next application we'll deal with is item 2 on the agenda. 21 Lattiser Street. This is a minor variance permit, a reduced rear yard setback for a new 3-story rear yard addition. And I believe the.
Hello?
Hi there.
Hi.
Can I get you the owner, sir?
My name is Edel Coombre,
Are you okay? And your address, please?
21 Ladouceur Street.
Okay, all right, all right. Before we begin, do you solemnly have to administer the oath? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I do. I do.
All right. So this is an application to create a reduce the rear yard setback because you'd like to put a 3-story rear yard addition on the property. You understand that some of your neighbors are not in support. They've objected because of the size of this. So if you could give us a brief presentation on what you're applying for, please.
Yeah, we are applying for a permit. Our goal is to build a 25 wide by 24 for extension.
Do you have any presentation that you can provide us with so we can look at the elevations?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, there you go.
Thank you. And then go ahead. You can go to S5, which will be the 5th one.
Okay.
There you go. And there you can see exactly what we're proposing to build.
All right. So the reduction is in the rear yard only?
Exactly.
And why is the reduction needed since this is a new build? Why can't you meet the bylaw requirement for the setback?
Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to do 3 things. It's very small. We just got married and that we need room to have actual offices and actual rooms for the children we hope to have. Due to the pandemic, we're both working from home and we will be working from home in the future as well. So we just need some standard rooms for offices. And we also have a family member, my mother, who's asked to eventually move in with us when the time comes. To build the proposed 3-story addition that's smaller would not fit that.
Okay. You have elevations in your presentation as well, I believe? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so this is from the street.
Correct.
Right.
We have also gone by to all of our direct neighbors and the Hintonburg Community Association and asked for their feedback. And we've so far gotten nothing but positive support. And you can see the letter with all our direct neighbors signing that they're in support, and the Hintonburg Community Association also.
Yes, we note the association supports, but one of your neighbors is concerned with the size of what you're building. That's not in, as to quote, not in keeping with the overall character of the street. They're also opposed to the rooftop terrace. It's unnecessary as the backyard serves the purpose for amenity space. So if you could respond to your neighbor's concerns.
I guess that's fair. What we're requesting is for about 1.45 meters deeper. So, I mean, that's only going to go in the back. We feel that that's extremely minor. And we hope that they understand that. We've brought it up to all our direct neighbors. They did not tell us that they had a concern. We don't know who's not aware of this, but we brought this up to everybody and gave everyone the chance to let us know that that's an issue.
Your rooftop terrace is going to have a railing around it, I take it?
Correct. And what we're doing for that is we're not requesting any minor variances, just like the last 6 homes that were built with rooftop terraces on our exact block. Ours to provide privacy to everybody else. We're not requesting any extra minor variances. We're going to have 5 feet from all places, so it'll be actually a much smaller rooftop deck than initially what we were.
So the setback from the side, front, and rear is going to be 5 feet approximately.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. All right. And if you could address the 4 tests, please, that are that we use to determine whether or not we're going to grant or deny an application.
Yeah, definitely. So we believe that it does not adversely impact neighboring properties as it's only at 1.4 meters shallower for the rear back setback. It's in alignment with neighborhood properties and compatible with existing rear yard setback patterns in our neighborhood, including the one of our direct neighbors that was approved by the Committee of Adjustments recently. That's on 19 Ladouceur Street. In fact, we're asking for less of a rear back setback. We're not asking for rear back area, and we're not asking for anything else, just simply allowed to build 1.5 meters bigger extension.
As far as whether or not this application represents desirable development of the property?
Yeah, it'll allow more people to live in it, and it does so with less massing than other projects recently approved by the Committee of Adjustment on our direct block.
And the compatibility with the intent and purpose of the official plan?
Yeah, it allows for identification for more people to live in it. So I believe that's why it's with the official plan.
And I don't know if did you mention the intent, meeting the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw?
Yeah, we have it. Okay. The bylaw requirement is section 144 and table 144A 3.
Okay. All right, any questions for the applicant from any members of the panel? We had a Miss Addison who was asking to speak.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm not the Hindenburg president. That's an error on my Zoom account.
Okay.
I was arranging something for the community association, but I'm speaking on behalf of myself as a resident, as the next door neighbor.
And your address is
19 Ladouceur.
Okay.
Emily Addison.
All right.
So I'm not speaking on behalf of the community association, but I'm fully in support of this project. I wanted to speak to the fact that the owners did kind of their due diligence in consulting with ourselves and the immediate neighbors on the other side, showing their plans very early on. Like us as neighbors, we were informed about the event at the community association to be able to learn about the project. This particular project, we went through Committee of Adjustment a few years ago for our addition on the back of our home. And in fact, the front of their home is exactly the same as the front of our home that was built over 100 years ago by the same person. So they're effectively trying to build the same addition that we did under the same zoning regulations that were approved a few years ago for us. And I think it's wonderful that they want to have kind of a generational family using that space. I find that our backyard is large enough for us, and in fact, just to the northeast of us, with 17 A and B Ladouceur and 15 A and B Ladouceur, the yards are half the size for each of those dwellings, those semi-detached, as Eduardo and Andrea will have at 21 Ladouceur. So they will have plenty of backyard amenity space to plant green green space, trees and that type of thing. And they've already expressed interest, I know, in using that space to have it green. So I just wanted to say that I'm fully in support of this as their next door neighbor.
Thank you, Ms. Addison. And we note that the Hintonburg Community Association is also in support of the application. All right.
Yeah, the community association never supports, but they don't object. They either object or don't object. And I know that they had not objected.
Silence is consent. Even though this isn't a consent application. All right. Any questions for the applicants regarding this application? Are we prepared to decide? All in favor of granting the application as provided? Your application is approved. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much. And
Have fun finding someone in the construction business these days. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily.
The next item we'll deal with today is item 490 McLeod Street. It's a minor variance to permit a reduced rear yard setback for the construction of a one-story addition at the rear of the existing two-story dwelling. The existing deck will be demolished. And the agent for the applicant is Mr. Beston. Is he there?
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi. Your name and address for the record, please.
Patrick Buston, and I'm at 865 Taylor Creek Drive.
All right. Right. So very briefly, please explain your request.
We are requesting to reduce.
Mr. Chair, the oath needs to be administered.
Oh, yeah. Jeez, I've forgotten this twice already. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time? All right. Sorry about that. All right, please continue.
So we were proposing to build a one-story addition in the rear yard. The exterior wall of the rear side of the addition will extend past the current setback by 0.15 meters or 5 7/8 of an inch. So we are proposing that the current rear yard setback of 9.08 meters be reduced to 8.93 meters.
You're basically building on the same footprint.
Yeah, effectively, yes.
Okay. That's not much of a variance. All right. Any questions for the applicant regarding this request? All right. As far as the four tests are concerned, Mr. Buston, how does this meet our requirements?
So regarding the four test, is the variance minor? I believe just in the how small of a decrease in the rear yard setback of this that it does qualify as being a minor variance. In regards to this being desirable for the appropriate development or use, certainly additions, ancillary buildings are allowed in the zoning, so there's no difference there. And in the sense of regulating new developments that are compatible with existing landscape patterns and its existing residential character, I feel that this addition would only complement the existing character of the zoning in the area. As for zoning bylaw maintained, again, this isn't an unusual building form or a building type. It's still just the addition to the existing building. and for the official plan to be maintained, referring to 4.43 of volume 2 of the official plan, the division of Centertown. There are many examples in the rear yards of additions, sheds, kind of eclectic ancillary buildings that I feel, again, that this will just complement and maintain what is already present.
I assume that the applicant has spoken to his neighbors, his or her neighbors.
Yep. They reached out. We asked them to contact us if there were any complaints, and we have at this point received.
We have no correspondence from any of the neighbors that identify any concerns. Okay. All right. Okay. Any questions from the panel regarding this application? Carried to vote. All in favor of granting the application as presented your project.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Right. The next application we'll deal with is item number 6 on the agenda, 444 Roosevelt Avenue, 407 Ravenhill. We dealt with this last year, and this is a request for minor variance to permit a reduced rear yard setback to include a secondary dwelling unit in the basement of the remaining corner unit at 444 Roosevelt Avenue. And the agent for the applicant is Ms. Hill. Ms. Hill.
Hi.
Now I can see you all. You're cut off like this. No, you're fine now. Yeah, you're
Okay.
fine now. That's it. Let's administer the oath. I'm actually going to remember it this time. Do you saw? I'd like to get back to in-person hearings. It'd be a lot. I didn't have to do this. Anyway, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
Yes, I do so swear.
Okay. My question and the panel's question to you is, why are we applying for this now when this should have been done last year?
So the when we made the application last year, the client just didn't feel like a additional unit in that corner location was particularly important.
Okay.
And the rules that affect this basement unit are really unusual to explain, as you'll see when I try to explain it now. And because it wasn't a priority, just didn't bother with the corner unit there. Since then, the market continues to be really strong for small units in locations that are so close to transit and so walkable. And the area was rezoned, so it got zoned up. So that's why we're back.
All right, you have a brief presentation, I take it?
Okay. Yes, very brief.
Okay.
So this is the image that I brought you the last time. And if the next slide this is what we propose now. And if you go to the next slide, I've circled the difference because it's really hard to see the difference. It's that one little flight of steps. So what we're proposing by allowing the corner unit to be used with a primary unit above and a secondary unit in the basement has an effect on the building exactly equal to that small flight of stairs. It doesn't change the setback, the height, the windows, the doors. It doesn't change anything except for the addition of that little flight of stairs. Inside the building, the only difference is that the stair going down to the basement gets walled off from the upstairs.
Okay.
And that's the only difference. Of course, the very big difference since the last time I was here is that the block is zoned differently. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see the property is located at the yellow star. The zoning here is now an R4UC, whereas it used to be an R3. So surprisingly, the building that you only just granted variances for is now largely zoning legally non-compliant. because there's a new zoning on it.
All right.
However, the intent of that R4 zoning is to encourage more smaller units without parking to go with them, so that this can become a more densely populated neighborhood with a walking culture. So the addition of another secondary dwelling unit is very much in keeping with the intent of the zoning here. And then if you go to the next slide, this is the same site plan that you've seen before, with one exception, which is those steps leading from the little deck. So in terms of zoning, the location of the primary entrance door of the primary unit on the corner would change if you granted this variance. Even though I'm not moving any doors or adding any doors, it's just what you call which door change. The label on the doors, so sort of zoning wise, would change. And then that changes the way that you figure out which yard is called what, and triggers the yard variance as a result.
Okay.
So it's very much just a sort of technical variance at the end of the day. So it's certainly meeting the intent of the zoning bylaw. The official plan intent, under the old official plan, intent has to do with contextual appropriateness, and we're not actually changing the building at all. So that kind of becomes irrelevant. With the new official plan, the intent for density is very, very clear. So we would be meeting that intent, absolutely. And then of course, it's very minor. It's almost a nothing kind of a variance. And so that leaves us just with a question of whether it's good for the neighborhood. And I would agree with the official plan that density without cars in walkable neighborhoods is good for the city, good for the neighborhood. Is that an adequate explanation?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Hill. Any questions from the members of the panel? You're aware that Ms. Johnson is not in support?
Yeah, Karen and I have talked on the phone. So before she wrote the letter, she wasn't entirely certain about exactly what was changing. Okay. So I know that she is still opposed to the variance, and because she's not supportive of the additional unit and the idea of getting a variance. Yeah. But at least we were able to clarify exactly what I was requesting.
Okay. All right. Any questions, comments from the members of the panel regarding this variance? Is this the last time there'll be a variance on this property?
I hope so. But honestly, if they were to add the, a chimney projection, they'd have to come back to you for a variance now, because the underlying zoning has changed and it's all out of whack. Not that they're planning to come back with a chimney.
I didn't hear it. All right. Now that Ms. Hill has more than adequately explained what this variance means, and it is, well, in my opinion, pretty minor. All in favor of granting the application. All right, Ms. Hill, your application is granted.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Have a good day. You too. All right. Next application we'll deal with is a return engagement. Number 9 and 10 on the agenda, 925 Falaise Road. And I believe Mr. Segreto is the agent for the applicant.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members.
Mr. Segreto, your address for the record, please.
30 Concourse Gate, Unit 47.
Okay. All right. So we adjourned this last hearing.
That's correct.
And there have been changes made. So if you'd like to take us through the amendments.
Sure. Again, this is the subject property that we have, the single-family dwelling bungalow, which we're hoping to demolish, sever the property into two parcels with respect to constructing two new two-story single-family dwellings. In order to do that, the variances that are required today are the variances for lot width and for lot area. And to reduce the lot width, I believe it was from to 15.27 meters for parts 1 and 3, and 15.31 meters for parts 4 and 5. The big question that we had on this one here was basically the driveways that was concerned at the time. And what we had was 2 or 3 different demonstrations of driveways that we could do. And I believe that we finally came up with a solution with respect to the tree that you see in front of you. There's a driveway that we're going to be putting on the right-hand side. And the total width of that driveway now is only going to be 2.6 meters. And on parts 1, the driveway width on the house to the west would be 3 meters. Next slide, please. That's the proposal that we have in front of you with respect to the development of the property. You can clearly see there's a fire hydrant in the middle there. So what we done is we created the driveway on the east side of the tree that's being affected. And directly to the west of us, you can clearly see that there's development going on, which is very similar to the development that we're proposing for you today. Next slide.
Okay.
There's the R plan, just indicating that there's an easement on the one side, on the west side, and I believe it's a utility easement, and there's also utility easements on parts 3 and 5. Next slide, please. This magenta colored is basically the driveway that is there for the single family dwelling, just showing the area of it. And what I'm trying to do is just indicate that the proposed driveways that we have in front of you today are a lot less asphalt than what we're proposing. And we're not even proposing asphalt, we're proposing the permeable pavers, which would allow more drainage for the property. Next slide, please. That's just an overview of the site itself. Next slide. And here you can clearly see the tree, which is being affected on parts 4. With the new services coming in through the side, we had our engineers look at it. I believe that we've had the tree people, Nancy, looked at it as well, and I think she's happy with what we've done with the services coming through this side on the east side of the property. Next slide. That's just the tree showing the tree of the on the property. Next slide. And then this is just showing the subject property in orange. You can see at the top of the page, and then the other proposals with the 3 units next to us. This sort of sorry.
Keep going.
So this sort of development is pretty much common over the last 15, 20 years. There's less lots in there now. There are a lot of deep lots in this particular neighborhood, Carlton Heights, but we previously had an application into the committee as well. This past 6 months or so ago, when you're looking at the green one a little bit further down the road towards the west, which is a similar property, very similar to what we're doing today. Next slide, please. Those are the houses that are being developed or have been developed, which are directly to the west of us. That little white house is the house that we're the property of concern. Next slide. And next slide. Yes. We did look at different alternatives for the driveway, but we did come to a solution with having the one that I showed you earlier on the right-hand side. That's basically it, Mr. Chair.
All right, and your variances are just for lot width and area, correct, Mr. Segreto?
Yes, they are. I don't think I mentioned the areas, but they are for lot width and lot area, yes.
Okay. And nothing's changed there?
Nothing's changed at all, no.
Okay. We have Miss Young with us today, I believe. Miss Young.
Yes, I'm here.
So was the department happy with this solution to save, will it save the tree?
Well, I'm hoping it'll save the tree. I think the arborist was satisfied that the placement of the driveway and the location of the services would be okay for the tree to survive. I'm happy that like the biggest thing here was that the previous plan would have involved excavation on both sides of the tree, one side for services and the other side for the driveway. So consolidating that and only impacting one side is, I think, the best thing we can do here.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Young. Any questions for the panel? From the panel, from Mr. Segreto? I believe we also have several of the neighbors who wish to speak. And I think I see two of them here. But if you'd like to identify yourselves and give us the address, please.
Hello, my name's Tanner Bell. My address is 64 Framingham Crescent.
Okay.
My name is Cassandra Ianniluccio, and I'm located at 1074 Normandy Crescent.
Okay. All right.
So good afternoon, Mr. Chair and fellow committee members. Thank you for allowing Cassandra and I the opportunity to speak on this matter. This project directly impacts us as the owners are currently Cassandra's parents, and our intention is to purchase one of the proposed lots and build our first home together as a recently engaged couple. We've been fully involved with all the communication among city planners, Ms. Young and Mr. Segreto, to ensure we are maintaining the bylaws, safety, and footprint of the neighborhood. We appreciate all the time and communication you all have provided, and thank you for your cooperation and your consideration.
Thank you for your input. Mr. Segreto, how does it meet the 4 tests?
Well, with respect to the 4 tests, when you're looking, is the variance minor? In my opinion, it is minor. We're just going for lot width, lot area, which is typical in this neighborhood, and it's not changing the character of the neighborhood. The variance is desirable. Again, it is desirable because the variance is very minimal, and there are other developments in the area that are similar to what we're doing. The general intent and the purpose of the zoning bylaw is maintained. The general intent and the purpose of the official plan is also maintained in this particular project that we're doing in intensification with respect to the community in this neighborhood. That's it.
You're aware that the department is asking that this application be granting this application be tied to plans filed?
Yes, I am, and that's fine. We don't have any issues with that at all.
Okay. And the conditions, just to make sure that you're okay with these and you've heard them: cash in lieu, private approaches and curb cuts. A, agreement, 1 private approach curb cut per lot or shared driveway. B, an agreement, no new additional access beyond that provided to Fillets Road is permitted. C, an agreement that a warning clause re private approaches and curb cuts. 3, a notice on title for private approaches and curb cuts. Number 4 is existing dwelling improvement services capped. 5, independent services confirmed. 6, grading and drainage plan provided before building permit stage. 7, development agreement to include the mitigation measures outlined in the approved tree information report. And number 8 is a noise level agreement due to the proximity of the airport. Is the planner, who's the planner on this file? Ms. Pecula?
Yes, that's me, Mr. Chair.
Why a noise level agreement regarding a proximity to the airport?
I'm looking into that. Apologies.
I mean, is this in the noise footprint of Ottawa International Airport? I don't believe it is.
I believe the noise agreement is with respect to Prince of Wales Drive.
Okay, so can we change the condition on number 8 to Prince of Wales and not the airport? Because that's, quite frankly, the committee is wondering, is this under MTO guidelines or federal regulation if it has something that the noise agreements has something to do with the airport?
Yeah, I see it now. It's condition number 8. I can clarify it with the engineering team, but I believe it is needed.
because of its proximity to the airport?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So Mr. Segreto, we're trying to get rid of the condition here, but apparently it looks like it's going to have to stay.
So that's a full-blown noise study that we'll have to do?
Nope, it's a noise level agreement, not a study.
Okay, all right, that's.
And then number 9, thank you, Ms. Bakula. Number 9 is that the owner shall A, prepare a noise attenuation study, or B, a noise level agreement. So you just have to have a noise level agreement.
Okay. Right.
Okay. Questions, comments from the members of the panel regarding this application? And Mr. Segreto, that's the last time you're going to move the driveway?
It is. It is.
All right. All in favor of granting the application as amended? Application's granted. Good luck with your project.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very welcome. Now, we'll call back, recall item 340 Kenora Street. Either Mr. Chown or Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Chair.
Have you managed to find the materials we were requesting?
Yes, we have circulated them to the committee coordinator.
So do we have, does the coordinator have the ability to put that up on screen so we can see this? Okay, so before we begin, I have to go through the oath or solemn declaration. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I do swear.
So this is a simple consent application to subdivide a property for a semi that's currently under construction.
That's correct.
And what we're looking at is the footprint of the building and the severance line through the middle of the building.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. You're aware of Hydro's comments regarding owners to pay for all expenses required regarding clearances and servicing.
We are aware of it.
And the right-of-way people talking about private approach permits required for new driveways.
Yep.
Cash in lieu of parkland as a condition. The department wishes to see a tree planting plan as well. I believe you're aware of that.
We are aware, yes.
Yeah, independent services confirmed, and a joint use and maintenance agreement as well.
We are aware, yes.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the panel? All in favor of granting this consent? Consent is granted. Thank you. You agreeing, Miss McLean, or opposing?
I had my hand up, Mr. Chair. I was looking for a draft reference plan that showed the foundation walls of the building under construction. What I think we saw there was a tree planting plan of a proposed semi-detached dwelling. So I'm not comfortable in going ahead and approving it on that basis. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly?
That is correct. We did not have the plan that from the surveyor, so we just marked this up for your reference from the tree planting plan.
All right.
And if it would assist the committee, Mr. Chairman, that plan is based on the approved grading and drainage plan that was provided to the city with the building permit application.
I think what we'll do, ladies and gentlemen of the panel, I think we'll reserve on this and just to discuss the further materials that we've received. And Mr. Chown, Mr. Kelly, will receive our decision in 10 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And I believe that concludes today's agenda. This hearing of the Committee of Adjustment is now over, and we will move to the excuse me, reserve meeting. Thank you very much.